welcome to this week's video. I am going to do some colour theory for you today, carry on with the painting theme. I enjoyed it quite a bit last week, so I thought I would carry on. Just going to use this old piece of grey board because I am running out of canvases and all kinds of other stuff in it. Amazingly enough, I'm running out of materials. Didn't expect that to happen very quickly. Some materials, not all. I am in the studio again, so once again there's probably going to be a lot of intermittent noise in the background. The washing machine's on, so you're going to hear rattling and running water, definitely, because that's all plumbed in through the wall just there. So you're just going to have to put up with that, I'm afraid. There's nothing I can do about that. So the piece of grey board I am using has previously been used twice before already. Reusing your materials and canvases and things is quite common a practice. Even, you know, really old paintings have been painted over previously. I'm going to actually paint a little bit of white over the front of this just so you can sort of better see what I'm going to do with it. So I'm just going to do that first. Cover up some mess that's on here as well. Pretty sure there's some writing on there from about like 9 years ago. So it's been painted white. I'm just waiting for it to dry a little bit. The only problem with using the grey board is that because I had to water the white down to get it all the way across, it has warped it quite a bit. So it bows really badly in the middle at the moment, but I'm hoping once it's dry I can bend it back again a little bit. You can still sort of see it though, so I think that's going to work. When it's dry, I'm going to draw a circle in the centre and we're going to do a colour wheel. So some of you might remember doing the colour wheel from school. I did it a very long time ago at school, and I remember turning my nose up at it. I'd already been painting for quite some time by the time we did it at school, and I just thought to myself, do you know what, I'm above this. Arrogant that I was. But genuinely, for the uninitiated, it is a really useful tool for knowing which colours mix well together and what colours make what. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with red up in the top segment here, there's yellow down here, and then blue here. I'm just going to paint it on so you can see what I mean, and then what you do is you colour morph around the wheel. So those are the first three colours painted on. Now the reason we start with red, blue and yellow is because they are known as primary colours. They are the colours that will mix every other colour that you need. Everything in between that are known as secondary colours. So green, orange, purple, any of those tones, those are secondary colours. So what we're going to do is mix our paint gradually so that the colours change across the wheel. So we're going to add yellow to the red to make 3 gradients of orange that will lead us to the yellow. And then do the same with the yellow, but add blue to get from yellow, green to blue. And then again with purple up the top into the red. So as you can see, I've done the red to yellow section there. Now I worked backwards from yellow to red because adding yellow to red to make it yellow just doesn't work. You should always add your dark colour to the light in gradual stages to get the colours that you want. So I went from the yellow to the pale orange up into the dark red, and I'll do the same with the other 2 sections in a moment. In a colour wheel there's always 3 spaces in between the primary colours, just to give you enough time to mix your colours into the next one. So there's my completed colour wheel. My blue is disgusting. It doesn't really mix very well with my red to make any kind of purple. It's still gradiented, but it's not very accurate. Although this is probably about 1,000 times better than the original colour wheel I did at school. It's somewhere in the studio with me actually. I'm not sure where I put the sketchbook, but I have kept it. We did it in poster paints and it was disgusting. Everything looked really muddy and yucky and bleh. But the theory goes that the opposite ends of this wheel are colours that match really well. So red and green going really well together, even though the theory is, you know, red and green should never be seen. Not true at all. Red and green are complementary colours. That is the technical term for colours that go together, is complementary colours. So we've obviously got blue and orange there, and then purple and yellow. And this can really help you sort of pick out colours that go well together on a canvas or a painting if you're just doing something from your own mind. So another term you might hear in relation to this is colour harmony. So as well as being complementary colours, the colours that go together are harmonious. Therefore this is colour harmony. So really complicated colour wheels that you might find on like Photoshop and things like that will be really sort of well blended, and you can pick a colour from anywhere on there, and then the opposite at the same distance or radius on the circle will be the complementary colour. You can pick out a colour and paint it next to it with the opposite colour just to see whether you like them, because obviously it's art, so it's opinion based. I distinctly remember actually in the art class where we did this, when somebody put an orange wood next to the green, even though they're next to each other on the wheel, nobody liked it. Nobody liked the orange and green combination. So although this is in theory the way to do it, it's still very much opinion based. So paint some colours on, see what you think. So as you can see, I've picked out a couple of the colours that I like from the wheel. So I like purple and yellow mixed together, and red and green as well. Really sort of Christmassy feel to those colours. But you can see what I mean when you take them off the wheel and put them next to each other. You can see how well they go together. But yeah, you can use that for any sort of painting really. And what I'm also going to show you is a monochromatic scale. So down the bottom here, I'm just going to do a gradient of white to black. It's quite a good skill to work on, because working with both white and black in paint can change things really quite dramatically, especially because they're not necessarily the most natural of colours. Black in particular, use too much of it and you will just sort of ruin everything really. So we start with white at this end, you gradually add black, so it goes all the way through the grey scale into the black at the end. So it all sounds really complicated, it uses big words, but it's really simple really, and really useful if you're just starting to learn to paint, or if you're trying to do any homeschooling with kids and you don't quite know what to do art-wise with them. These are really, really good basic skills to go through with them. So the monochromatic scale, you only need a very little amount of black in the beginning because it darkens very quickly, but towards the end you start having to put a bit more in to make an effect on the colour. So one end of the scale is completely different to the other. But yeah, hopefully this is useful to you all. Hopefully you learn a little bit about painting today. Definitely go out and paint. It is really therapeutic. You will really enjoy it. At least I hope you will. I'm a big believer that absolutely everybody can be an artist. All of you can paint, all of you can draw. Even if you think it's really basic, even if you think you don't have much skill, it's all lies. Anybody can do it. Because like I said before, art is really subjective. If you've ever seen a Jackson Pollock, you would know that. Where it's all just thrown at the canvas and that's art. You don't necessarily need to know absolutely everything to be able to create, and I'm definitely a craft and art enabler, so go out there and do it. Now that we're done, I'm going to spend my afternoon touching up a really old painting of mine actually. I did it 9 years ago and it's one of my favourite paintings. Time for a humble brag, I'm going to show it to you. That's one of mine. There you go. I was a teenager when I did that, 9 years ago. Still really pleased with it. But it needs a bit of a clean up, it needs a varnish over the top, it needs a bit of looking after because it's one of my favourite ones ever. I've already damaged it a little bit on the front, which is really quite upsetting, but look after your paint. If you love your paintings, look after them. But yeah, this was, for me, this was minimum effort. I literally just threw paint at the board, on the background, and then the birds, painted them on so quickly. Honestly, it took very little effort at all, and that's what I came up with, and it's one of my best paintings ever, even though it's 9 years old. Go out and create, people. It's good for you. Bye. What I'm going to spend my afternoon doing is actually touching up an old painting that I've got in here.